Madam Vice Chancellor, Chair of the Board of Governors, graduands, and honored guests. It is my great privilege to present our honorary doctorate degree recipient today, Mr. Tony Urquhart. Tony Urquhart is one of the most important artists of his generation in Canada, recognized both for his artistic production as well as for his remarkable achievements as a builder of arts institutions in Canada. Having studied painting at the Albright Art School in Buffalo and at the State University of New York in Buffalo, Urquhart became one of Canada's pioneering abstract expressionists in the late 50s and early 1960s. At the tender age of 22, about the age of some of you right now, he was taken on by the prestigious and cutting-edge Isaacs Gallery in Toronto, which was an avant-garde hub that included the greats of his generation, from Michael Snow to Joyce Wieland and Greg Curnow. In 1960, he was honored as the first artist in residence at the University of Western Ontario, where he quickly became a pillar of the arts community. Through his work at the Macintosh Art Gallery at the University of Western Ontario, Urquhart was instrumental in transforming sleepy London, Ontario into an avant-garde hub and legendary arts community through his curatorial work and arts organization. In 1965, he wrote, "Whether old master or contemporary, all of the works of art that I admire most seem to have one thing in common, an afterimage, something about painting that lingers in the mind and makes one want to come back to it." The box sculptures that he began to make during this period, tactile, magical, and made to be handled by the viewer, embodied this lingering afterimage that Urquhart sought, activating memory and fantasy in the viewer through physical touch, discovery, and surprise. A few years after making this artistic breakthrough, Urquhart turned his attention to infrastructural issues, articulating and defending the rights of artists in Canada. In 1968, he co-founded the Canadian Artists Representation, le Front des Artistes Canadiens, otherwise known as CARFAC. Together with fellow artists Chambers and Kim O'Danche, Urquhart worked tirelessly to establish the authority of this artists' union, meeting with artists, galleries, and museums from across the country. In the end, the three created the backbone of CARFAC's cultural policy, a standardized fee structure for artists in an industry that previously had no regulations and no protections for cultural producers, who were constantly being told to be grateful for the exposure that they were getting. Thanks to CARFAC, Canadian artists were the first to receive mandated exhibition fees for showing their work, and now enjoy greater protections than artists almost anywhere in the world. And as CARFAC now asks, has the artist been paid? In 1995, Urquhart received the Order of Canada, and in 2000, the Governor-General's Award in the Visual and Media Arts, recognizing the significance of his achievements in both art and society. Madam Vice Chancellor, in recognition of his fine and internationally recognized contributions to the visual arts in Canada, I request that you confer the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, upon Tony Urquhart.
By virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Governors and the Faculty Senate, I hereby confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Laws, honoris causa, with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereto pertaining. Congratulations, Dr. Urquhart, and welcome to our family.
I'd rather draw a picture. I'm okay at that. However, Madam Vice Chancellor, Chair of the Board, graduands, honored guests, I am pleased today to receive an honorary doctorate from Carleton University. I have asked to speak first as the other recipient, also sometimes known as my wife, is in fact being honored specifically for her writing. While, as you have learned from Dr. Tiamos' citation, I was and still am concerned with the field of visual art, as well as in the teaching thereof. My first university appointment was as artist in residence at the University of Western Ontario in 1950. Western at that time had no courses in visual art, but did have the fine art Macintosh Gallery. It built in earlier years and had only been used once every year. However, and I was invited to set up my studio in the premises and keep the gallery open so that serious students could see me painting and ask questions. I felt at times not unlike some sort of strange animal in a zoo. I was also at the same time, ipso facto, the director, the curator, the installations officer, and the floor sweeper of the Macintosh Gallery, simply because there was no one else. I worked in that capacity for a number of years and enjoyed it. I remember one student in particular. He came into my studio and showed some curiosity about and interest in the oil painting I was working on. When he returned to the gallery at my studio a week later, he stood behind me and looked over my shoulder for several minutes. "You sure messed up that one," he said. Sadly, he was right. The gallery was a learning experience for both me and for the interested students. As it turned out, by the end of the year, that extremely astute student was helping me to organize a nationwide drawing show. I'm not sure where he is now. In 1967, I was hired as a studio instructor for the UWO's first year course in their new Department of Fine Art. I was lucky. Many artists don't like teaching, but I loved it. And the combination of teaching and making art has made the years rich and full. As Confucius so memorably said, I didn't realize this, choose a job you like and you'll never have to work a day in your life. I didn't know that was Confucius. Many years ago at art school, I asked my favorite teacher why he made art. He scratched his head for a moment and replied, "Maybe it's a nervous habit." And for me, however, and I suspect for him as well, it has been both a compulsion and a love. When she was a small child, my daughter Robin once remarked, "Daddy, my dreams come up to me and I have to say them." To this day, I have not found a better description of the need to create art. Today, I'd like to call your attention to a concept that I came across many years ago, and which got me thinking, and which may well be related to your life after graduation. I came across the idea in a book written by well-known art critic Robert Hughes in the 1970s. It was entitled "The Shock of the New," and its pages attempted not to explain contemporary culture or art explicitly, but to inform the reader's or looker's experience of current visual art. Near the end of the book, speaking about the practice of art in the present, which would be the 1970s, he complains of the artist's emphasis on career over vocation. And I didn't know exactly what all this was when I read it, but when I thought about it, briefly put, career equates such things as attempting to place your work in important public collections, to be selected for important exhibitions, to be written about by prestigious critics. In short, the seeking of celebrity or fame. Vocation, on the other hand, has to do with attempting to improve the quality of what you are doing via practice or attention to details or trial and error, observation, effort. In short, trying always to be better at your work, more critical of it, and more joyous in the pursuit of improving it. As Hughes himself said about the practice of visual art, the greater the artist, the greater the doubt. Perfect confidence is given to the less talented as a consolation prize. This statement could apply equally to almost any field of endeavor. Hughes was a kind of cranky old guy, but he knew what he was talking about. Career and vocation are not always unrelated. After all, career often leads to the maker of money. However dedicated you are to your vocation, you still have to make money. You have to eat. The distinction I want to make is, as of today, you are all accredited professionals in such various fields and disciplines as anthropology, geography, environmental studies, and psychology. These are your vocations. However well your career goes, however well you are paid, those of you who keep adding and contributing to the areas of your vocation will be honored and appreciated by your peers, and you'll have the satisfaction of knowing that you have done the best you could for the greater good of this world. Today's graduates, I wish you all good luck as you begin your careers and, most importantly, your vocations. Thank you.